When we think of empires, Britain and France usually steal the spotlight, tea, cheese, and colonial drama galore. But America, the land of freedom? Turns out it had its own empire, one most Americans barely remember. Enter the Philippines, America's forgotten colony in Asia. While the U.S. celebrated its anti-colonial roots, it quietly ran a full-blown overseas empire for nearly 50 years. This wasn't a minor episode. It's a story of power, irony, and a legacy that still shapes both nations. The U.S., born from revolution, ended up playing the imperial game it once fought against. The Philippines wasn't just a pit stop, it was a colony, administered by Americans, for Americans. Ignoring this history doesn't erase it, it just leaves us with a blind spot. And that, in itself, is a very American tradition. 1898, the Spanish-American War rages, the U.S. Navy crushes Spain in Manila Bay, and Filipino revolutionaries see hope for independence. But while Filipinos declare freedom, America and Spain cut a deal in Paris, selling the Philippines to the U.S. for $20 million. America didn't liberate, it bought. Filipinos, betrayed, fought back in the brutal Philippine-American War, a conflict the U.S. called an insurrection. But for Filipinos, it was a fight for survival. The war was savage. Villages burned, civilians forced into camps, waterboarding used as torture. Over 200,000 Filipino civilians died. Most Americans have never heard of it. This wasn't a splendid little war, it was a bloody conquest, with all the horrors of empire. The U.S. public was told it was about order and progress, but for Filipinos, it was about resisting a new colonial master. The legacy? A war largely erased from American memory. But in the Philippines, the scars remain. The cost was staggering, the consequences lasting, and the story was just beginning. With the war won, America faced a restless colony. The solution? Benevolent assimilation. Remake the Philippines in America's image. Hundreds of American teachers, the Thomasites, arrived to teach English and American values. Local languages and histories were sidelined. American culture took center stage. Infrastructure boomed, roads, schools, hospitals, serving both progress and military control. Baseball replaced local sports, and American governance became the norm. Was this modernization or cultural erasure? Every act of uplift doubled as a tool of control. The Philippines was modernized, but always on American terms. The question, was it charity or just a subtler form of conquest? By the 1930s, the U.S. promised Philippine independence, eventually. The Tidings-McDuffie Act set a 10-year countdown, but World War II changed everything. Hours after Pearl Harbor, Japan invaded the Philippines. U.S. and Filipino forces led by MacArthur were overwhelmed. The Bataan Death March followed. Tens of thousands died in one of We Too's worst atrocities. Japanese occupation was brutal. Filipino guerrillas fought back fiercely. When MacArthur returned, the liberation was devastating. Manila was left in ruins, over 100,000 civilians killed. The war bound the two nations in trauma and loss. By 1945, the Philippines was shattered, its people forever changed. Independence was near, but the cost was immense. July 4, 1946. The Philippines finally gained independence, but the U.S. kept its grip. Economic deals like the Bell Trade Act ensured American influence lingered. American culture, language, and institutions became part of Filipino life. In the Philippines, the American era is living history. Its impact felt daily. In the U.S., it's a forgotten chapter erased from the national story. This selective amnesia lets America dodge hard questions about its own imperial past. Forgetting this history isn't just unfair to Filipinos, it blinds America to its own legacy. The story of America's forgotten colony forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth. Freedom and empire often walk hand in hand, and that's a history we can't afford to ignore.